For those of you who might have met me or know me, I'm not a huge panel person. So if you're wondering why am I doing a panel, my rules are very simple, like no bullshit, very direct and transparent questions, and more importantly, answers, which we have previewed a little bit internally. So we're going to jump right into it. Maybe what you guys can do just to make it more interesting, just who you are, where you work. And we're going to start with the failure. Like, what is one thing that either hasn't worked or has been harder than you thought? So introduce yourself and answer that question. We're jumping right in.
Eric Loss, I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Dayforce. We are an HCM software company. I will say, as a longtime communications person, you should never be on a panel, given that intro. So, but I'm excited to see where it goes, sitting in the seat myself.
It's going to be very unpredictable.
Yeah, well, I'm for that. So I've been at Dayforce for 5.5 years. And, I would say in terms of like the failure side, nothing worked for a lot of the time. I feel like we're just inching. But given my communication background, the intersection with marketing, content and storytelling is where I immediately zeroed in. I think now at this point, we're all pretty dialed on slop. But when we first got going and I was pushing the team, put everything through and let's go as fast as we can and create all this amazing content because brand and content is what the LLMs want and all of that stuff. And it was all garbage. It was terrible. And we really had to start again, strip it down, consider the processes. But it was a really tough start out of the gate.
Love it. Very direct answer. Let's keep going down the line.
Thanks. And thank you for having me on the panel. Meghan Johnson, I lead our commercial transformation. What does that actually mean? I sit at the intersection of growth of AI adoption and of how we bring that together across an organization, including marketing, product innovation. How do we make those Oreo flavors and sales? I am part of a team of really brilliant people that made some very bold bets about 3-4 years ago. I remember being up on stage singing the absolute praises of AI, of content production. This team had built at the time something that was transformative. It really was first mover advantage when it came to content production and our ability to do that in-house. What we've learned has been, and what I have found most interesting, is not losing sight of why we're doing what we're doing. It's great that we can create Oreos and we don't need to film it 3 million times anymore as we look at our different brand country combinations. But what we really needed to not lose sight of was the why behind it. Why do people want Oreos? Why do you have kids that come home off the school bus and you want a little moment of connection with them that's not going to ruin their dinner? The why we lost sight of, and it's something that we're bringing back in, and it's something that we want to recenter as we think about the change management in terms of the capability advancement for the future.
I love it. We are going to talk about the humanness that sometimes we forget about in this AI age. But we'll come back to that. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Jen Wei. I am the head of marketing and communications at Belkin. We make power banks that you guys all need for this week. We make all kinds of electronic accessories, but we are making an interesting pivot this year, branching out beyond commoditized accessories. We just launched a Disney product with Toy Story 5, and we can get into that a little bit later. That is not a failure. That was a huge success. But in terms of failures, we have a competitor that is always on our heels. And every board meeting, it was like, why aren't you doing what competitor X is doing? Why aren't you launching this product? Why aren't you using these tools? And so instead of actually thinking about what we needed and what our brand stands for and the change management that you need to put into place to adopt anything new, we just went ahead and adopted their AI platform. We're like, they have it, we need it, let's go. It took us maybe 18 months to even implement it, and we're about a year in, and I can safely say it's not working.
First of all, every marketer in the room is probably feeling some level of empathy because there's always a CEO or a boss somewhere who's looking at their competitors, the new example of that is, hey, I typed something into ChatGPT
Yes.
and this is what I saw. Like, what are you doing about it?
Yes.
And so
5
I'm
times
sure,
a day.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is feeling that. We'll get to that in a second. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Dan Bartfield, and I'm the Global VP of Digital Marketing for Suntory Global Spirits. You hear Suntory, you may think Japanese, but we have about 60 beautiful brands, the big bourbons like Jim Beam and Maker's Mark, all the way down to RTD and a lot of other parts of the spirits categories. I'm still practicing that speech because I've been with the company just now over a year. I spent the last 10 at L'Oreal Group in beauty, so I made the jump from selling things that smell good to selling things that taste good. I'm very happy to be here. I will say that having worked at some of these big brand houses, when we think about AI that didn't work, or what you learn from it, right? I've been very lucky that at Suntory, they've been visionary in rolling out a lot of the everyday AI tools like OpenAI and ChatGPT to employees. And that's what my boss calls superpowers. And I really resonate with that. If you've ever had it hooked up to your Outlook, you know how fast things can get and how it makes the tools you used already work harder or work the way they were supposed to work in my mind, right? Like finally I can search things on Outlook and get the right answers. Versus the way it used to be. So I think what comes of that, right, though, is we still have a garbage in, garbage out problem sometimes that when you unleash these things without rules and it's not always what you expect, right? So I think hallucinations are still a real thing that have become part of the game, but it's uncanny how it can test your critical thinking skills and how OpenAI will start to lie to you in the way you would lie to yourself. So I think that it's like an always-on game of cat and mouse with making sure that what you put out is quality.
Great. And I figured I'll just introduce myself and just give our biggest challenge. I'm the president at Optimize. For a lot of you, you might think of Optimize as an A/B testing company. I see a lot of nodding. Well, today we're repositioning, unsurprisingly to anyone, as an AI platform for marketing because testing is actually just a third of our business. We help you just create and optimize any digital experience. We have a whole AI platform. And we use our own products. And the biggest challenge that we had was there was a big gulf between individual productivity and organizational and like team-wide productivity. We had individual marketers who would hook up their Claude system. They would use Opal, our platform. They were doing all sorts of advanced stuff. They were running their entire life using AI. And then we had others in the team that were feeling totally left behind. So like raising the entire organizational productivity level with AI was a lot harder than we initially thought. And getting individual pockets actually was quite straightforward. All right, so let's now flip it to what's an area that you've seen some level of traction. I think one of you said we're all stuck somewhere in the early stages because no one has more than a year or two of experience. I think you guys were early 3 years. What's working well so far? What's something that you're proud in terms of you're showing some level of growth? Ideally, we'll take efficiency gains if we can't talk about growth, but who wants to go and maybe share some success story? Why don't ladies first? I see you had the mic up.
Okay. We have really expanded into new categories over the past year. So the world of electronics accessories has become a little bit of a race to the bottom because you can get on Amazon, you could buy a power bank for $10. It might blow up your phone. Sometimes people don't care. They just want the cheapest product. So inbound strategic partnerships, new categories, completely new. This answer is sort of like a blend of AI and human creativity, but
I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. We got into gaming. And we thought we wanted to get into gaming by making peripherals or console controllers or maybe get into gamer ecosystems. But again, I'm going to come back to this theme a lot, which is knowing who you are as a brand. And we really needed to remember that our primary audience is the millennial who grew up. So Nintendo lovers, not all those hardcore other games I don't know about, but Nintendo lovers. So the Switch 2 was coming out. We're like, let's try this again. We had already tried and failed at launching a gaming category at least 2 times in my history at Belkin, which is about 10 years now. So we're like, let's get back to the roots. Let's see if this will work. So we leaned heavily and we used AI to test to see if this would work for us, not only in the product category itself, but the messaging, the positioning, using AI personas to test all of that.
You did like
first.
synthetic panels or personas.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And it's a smashing success. We're number one charging case for Switch 2 on Amazon today. And we did not exist in that category. So anyone who sells on Amazon knows that's really hard to do.
First of all, I love that story for so many reasons. I do have a follow-up there. Given you had tried it in the last 10 years twice and failed, when you came up with this idea of let's try it again, were you met with resistance, like from your CEO, C-suite, exec team?
We were met with resistance by the sales teams across the board. Nobody wanted to sell it. They're like, no, we're not going to sell this.
And then how did you convince them? Was it like, hey, let's just test it?
We forced it through.
Okay.
We went digital first. So we went D2C. We went in, which is opposite of Belkin. The reason you guys all kind of know Belkin is because you saw it at the airport store. You probably saw it in your local electronics store. Like you see it in store.
Yeah.
So we went the opposite route and we're like, fine, retail sales team. You won't sell this in retail. We're going to launch this digital first. These guys our consumers are now digital first anyway. Gamers are digital first. So the sales teams all got FOMO and they joined us later.
I've got Belkin products. I'm with you.
You do know your consumer well, though, because I think physical Belkin is how I know the brand. It's like I see it in stores and often in the airport. So
that's right.
All right. Success story next. Who wants to go?
I'm happy to share. This is not like an exact story, but what I have found most meaningful is really in the quality of conversation that I can now have across my leadership team that did not exist before. 3 years ago, it was those media guys that were trying to figure it out. And they were a little bit at the forefront because, guys, we've been using algorithms for so long. So it just naturally made sense that this next iteration of tech implication would sit with us. Now, Mondelēz is a organization of makers and bakers. We have brands that have been around for 100 years with Oreo, 200 years for Cadbury. The change mentality to really be able to say, hey, we can take this tech and we can help us to learn faster, be a bit smarter and not just more efficient was absolutely evident. And to be able to have that conversation, not just with our media guys and internally or with our key partners, but also having that conversation with sales, with product innovation, with legal, with finance. That quality of conversation to move away from cost savings to actual value back to the business has been the biggest game changer, which has only really started to occur over the past couple of months.
Okay.
So we've put, again, we sort of reset, focus the content, focus the strategy, really understood what the requirements are to get it tuned right to the brand, to the voice, to the experience that we wanted, and we really put it behind our brand campaign. We launched a new campaign at the beginning of this year, and it was predicated on the notion with Dayforce, you can lighten the load. And so we had some fun with it, and we launched the campaign with these little tiny briefcases. And so what AI really helped us do was to empower our 10,000 employees around the world. And they could we used it to impart very much digitally, designing. They could design and describe what is in their tiny briefcase. And it was so fun to watch them just unleash on social and then engage with our community, engage with our customers. And then we paired it with our event experiences, which we would do around the world, and we would then set up a station of the little bags and the little briefcases, and let our customers customize them and have fun with them. And the line just on those to then get them in the room for the content is now like the biggest struggle at these events. But the way we've been able to charge the brand, charge the experience, tune AI to speak in our voice, understand our tone, understand our context, that then becomes a massive accelerator.
Do you have someone on your team who's responsible for that tuning, making sure your AI has the context, whether it's your brand guidelines, editorial guidelines, like who is responsible for that?
So this truly is a cross-functional partnership. So our digital team, our IT team, is a critical partner at this stage of our maturity in this. So we've got basically an AI squad that is made up of brand, content, our marketing digital team, our MarTech team, which sits inside IT.
Your team has to be involved because IT doesn't know about
absolutely.
brand or taste.
Oh, that's right.
No offense to IT people. When I was an engineer, they don't know your brand's like the nuances of the creative, right?
Correct, and nor does AI, which is that's the lever. So you still have to spend the time to tune it, to banter, to argue, to input all of the documents and the content and the process and the tone. There was a great conversation earlier today that got into documenting. What do you mean by this is creative or this is witty or this is humble? Like you got to really document and describe that.
There's an expression I use, process precedes magic, which we often expect to just plug in AI and magic will happen, but you need to like work on documenting all of the context and the guardrails and the guidelines, et cetera. And that's kind of hard work. Many marketing teams have never documented their own workflows or processes or don't have guidelines documented in a way that is reusable. So you have to put in that investment, but I think the output is going to be it's the
massive leap forward in the change on the output but that's the massive amount of work on the front end that I think can get underestimated.
All right, Suntory wins.
So those were all very sexy examples. I was going to talk about something kind of fundamentally unsexy, which is marketing data dashboards. And as you guys were talking, I was thinking, how many years have I built them in PowerPoint, in Outlook, in Word, and then rebuilt them, and then I would take screenshots from Domo and put them in this thing and that thing. And I've probably used every tool under the sun. And I think it's only recently have we gotten to a stage where there's true transformational power by having automated data connections. And what I think you all said that I liked is that you have to build the foundation of what you want first. Because if you build AI connectors on top of a stack that's messy, that's what you're going to get. I think one of the big challenges I've seen all global organizations have is taxonomy. And I think it's an area where we're really starting to experiment a lot to understand. So when your CMO says to you, well, how did the campaign do? You have a real answer, right? And you can say, well, it didn't tag the out-of-home digital in this country, but we have it in this country. Those days are quickly disappearing, and I think there's real value to be unlocked. I would build that. We've since started to roll things out within my team, and there's instant productivity gains versus the hours you spent, customizing colors on the table in PowerPoint. But beyond that, what do you do at that time? And I think once you get to the top of the first mountain peak, it's always good to make sure that your ambitions match to the next mountain peak so that you can really make the most of those efficiency gains and they don't get eaten by a vendor or a partner or stretched by your own team to fill the hours. Because the truth is that our ambition as leaders is to make sure we take that time that we've made and make sure that we're propelling the business forward.
Do you think that time is being utilized to do things that were never possible before?
So today, I believe that most communications media follows a three-step kind of life cycle. You have it as a toy, then it tends to mirror what's going on already in the business, and then it becomes artistic. You could look at the history of the Polaroid camera or any sort of technology, particularly in communications, that follows that same thing. I think AI is on a similar journey. And right now, I was talking to somebody earlier, it's kind of a dad joke, but I don't think that we've figured out what the art in artificial is yet, right? How does it truly transform things that we were not doing already? So no, I think the answer is not yet. And I'm really optimistic about where that can go. But right now we're really focused on mirroring the things we did already so that we can continue to check the boxes and build the best basics and foundation possible. Yeah,
metaphor we often use is an iceberg. Right now we're trying to automate all the things we've done. Those are everything that you can see above the waterline. Yeah. But really there's a huge opportunity of just stuff that was never possible because we just didn't have enough human scale to do it or to even attempt it. So I'm excited about those. Just in terms of creativity, we talked about human touch. A few of you brought up kind of the humanness aspect of kind of the next few years. I think it's going to be really important that we balance creativity and science. Do you have examples of where AI has been better than humans? Or if you have an opinion, you can also share. If you don't have an example, like, do you think we can replace some of the human creativity with AI, or are you a skeptic?
I think you need to be working with intention. So you had asked before, and I don't think that it's creative or it's tech. We can't think that way. It is blended. I think what's very important is to ensure that you have intention on having your why, ensuring that you have that need in your head that you're solving for. AI is not going to replace hour 3 of a phone call that you're on where you need a snack and it needs to hit your macros. That is a moment that matters, and that is what we have to keep in mind. How we then activate against that becomes something that we play with tech, that we play with what needs to be true in order to best meet that moment and have the comms around it. But that need is always going to be human, and it's not going to be replaced by AI.
So Belkin launches upwards of 100+ products a year. We can't not use AI.
New product launches?
Correct.
Holy shit.
They could be iterations or variations, but yeah, it's nuts. I mean, we're in every category you can think of when it comes to accessories, right? Docks and hubs, cables, adapters, chargers,
and
cases.
all of this used to be manual up until recently. Had to be.
Yeah. Yes. It's bonkers. So we have to use AI. I don't even know how we survived without it before, to be honest. I mean, the amount of content that we need to produce, the number of videos. This year alone, my video team has already created over 250 videos. Imagine that without AI. I mean, we were just drowning and swimming in it. So yes to AI, but my example I wanted to give you that brings the humanity back into content creation from my team is that the video we produced for our Disney product versus the video we produced for our mobile power campaign, which is our largest category. Okay, it's 50% of our revenue today is mobile power. So it's our biggest campaign of the year. We used AI for mobile power and we used live action for Disney. And the mobile power one still cost us twice as much and twice as much dollars and twice as much time. So jury's out.
Wait, so the live action one was actually more affordable?
Correct.
I need the details of your live action studio. That's
it was
amazing.
faster to produce. It was the iterations, it was the editing, it was the multiple products in the campaign category. So many factors.
We have, I'll give you one example, and then maybe I'll go to you guys. For our rebrand, we did a ton of it using AI, but we also hired this illustrator in Berlin who's just like this genius, weird, creative guy, and he just does all sorts of crazy illustrations. If you go to the Brand Innovators beach at the bar, you'll find these postcards. You'll see them up around town. And it was just really important for us because we're an AI company, to also have some sort of soul, and having just like a dude from Berlin who's just obsessed about illustration made such a difference, like in that final output of the brand.
We have a similar crew, but in Hungary, who did a lot of our gaming stuff.
All right, looks
Brilliant.
like Europe, weird European places is where you're gonna go find talent. Creativity versus AI.
Yeah,
even though we're not supposed to say versus. Creativity and AI, which one?
But to the core of your question, will we get to this point where you would point to AI and go, yeah, that was a totally driven, we're behind it? I think it's 100% yes, because I think we are just starting to like turn a very early but necessary page on this, getting away from this binary notion. Is it like, can I do more AI and have less people? It's more the really creating that accelerant, because that is what I can certainly see on my team. Is I know who has really like leaned in at the next level, and they're not replacing themselves. They're accelerating, and I think the opportunity for that means, sure, we'll point to what's AI, because that human touch, that human taste, which is what you're describing with your special individual that does that illustration, because you then have the time to go so deep into an area that for whomever it is on the team has such passion and inspiration and taste. I think the way we're sort of throwing around this notion of, everybody has taste. You have to refine it. You have to sharpen
except
it.
IT people, I said.
Right, except IT people. But that I think is gonna like blast open in a really I think fundamental and exciting way in the practice of marketing and communications, but ultimately for the benefit of what we're all trying to achieve inside our businesses and products and services.
Are you guys doing any creative with AI at Suntory?
Yes, but all creative isn't created equal, right? I think that I'm just reflecting on what you said. I think you said it really well, which is that it's an accelerant, but you still need a driver. And like we've had internal discussions like, does it replace your art director, right? I think the answer is still no today.
No.
Not if you don't have maybe if you don't have a great art director, perhaps.
Yeah, right. And I think that it gives, when you have those resources today, I think that they still outmatch, but could that change in the future? Yes. I was also thinking about another kind of reverse answer or question within the question, which is when we're thinking about an agentic future, who are you really building for? Are you building for the consumer, or are you building for what the consumer is going to interface to get to the consumer, which is an old question that kind of started with Google in many ways. Like the new SEO, you're not really building for that person. You're building to the thing that's going to recommend them. I was talking to somebody the other day about how is our agents really just influencers? And how do you build for that? Because I know that's not exactly the question you're going through with creative.
It's actually super interesting framing.
Right?
I've never heard anyone say that before. But agents as intermediaries has been discussed, but you're basically saying they're the next generation of influencers, so you need to build for them.
If your phone says to you, you should buy this alcohol when you're at the bar, I want to be that alcohol. So how do I convince the agent to pick me? It sounds a lot like Google from 20 years ago. And I think, but it's a different type of content. It's a whole ecosystem that will probably be paid or insured owned. So it really plays into what we're saying, because it's not just going to be your Facebook ad that you put out there and hope that it works, right? Because we generated it with AI and our bottle shot is cheaper now. It's really about thinking holistically. And that's why I go back to what I said earlier about the foundations is like, are we set up correctly across the basics that we know the consumer touch points will be, including the new ones that are emerging?
Got it. I think we're going to have to wrap pretty soon, but like, is there anything based on your learnings or just your the time that you've spent at your companies that you would give as kind of advice to anyone in this room, like where to focus, where not to focus, where the opportunity, like what you're excited about?
I'm going to go back to the big AI failure. And I love that you guys have a squad, AI squad. So don't do what we did. Don't just do what the competitors are doing. I would say when it comes to AI, find out who your AI captains are, like human captains, and buy them lunch and figure out if they can, really drive the change management through and help adoption throughout your org. Because we have so many AI tools at our hands within Belkin. I'm sure you guys all do too. But it's the onboarding, it's the adoption, it's the how do all the teams work together. We were missing that piece.
Plus 100 on the captain. We had a chief of staff, so she kind of knew how all the workflows operated. She knew the people. We made her full time.
That's a great
the AI
idea.
Captain, and her job spec basically is she's accountable for driving adoption. She sends around leaderboards, adoption data. She trains people, so it's a full-time role.
I just got the chills. I'm gonna do that.
You should meet her.
We should all do that. Everyone do that.
Her name is Julia McGuire. We literally have her just get on calls with marketers all over the world. They love her. I think everyone has to that. And you guys did something similar, I think, the cross-functional team. All right, advice.
Celebrate the wins. I think it's really easy to take some of the stuff you do with AI for granted and some of the efficiency gains that you have without acknowledging the teams that built them and the thinking that went into it. It wasn't the tool didn't do it by itself.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my advice to most marketers, and including myself, that I try to do every day.
Pay attention to what you're putting out in the world. A bad story is a bad story, whether it was built with AI or a human. We are responsible for making sure we don't have an industry full of schlop. And we need to make sure that we're continuing to really push the bar. Pay attention to consumers, how they interact with it, how they respond to it.
Yeah, and I would just add I think what we've all shared. Again, the AI squad is fantastic. Our team gets together on a cadence, and it's great for me. I can't often join, but I can see the dialogue from the channel, what's happening in the meeting, and it's just awesome. They're sharing ideas. I did this. Check out this. Look at this. Went to this event. I'll come back and share what I've learned here into that channel. It's really awesome. And then the other piece, which I hit earlier. Document. That is how AI is going to get the context. And it's also how you are going to find in your organizations, where are you clear on what your brand stands for, what your persona is, what your voice is, what you care about. There will be holes there where you think the team knows, but it's a great way to sharpen up, and then AI can be right there with you.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the adoption piece. So I'm not going to duplicate what you said, but I will say kind of the overall theme I'm hearing is like good enough is no longer good enough, whether it's being close to the consumer, understanding them, whether it's setting the bar high, documenting the process, having a person who's like dedicated. These are all things to raise the bar. And I think that's as an industry, what we have to do. I also think jobs, we didn't get to the jobs topic, but we kind of danced around it. I don't think jobs are going to go down. I think jobs are going to go up. There's an economic principle called Javon's paradox. Like when spreadsheets came out, everyone thought analysts and financial analysts would go down, but those jobs have just increased. It just makes you better at your job. So I think, do you guys all share that level of positivity around marketing jobs? There'll be new jobs, maybe different jobs. Everyone agrees?
I mean, we spend all day, every day talking and looking at the workforce. Absolutely. I think, as I said earlier, I think there's a massive acceleration of just opportunity, positivity, that's unlocking now.
Awesome.
We're hiring, so yes.
Yeah.
Plug any last minute plugs because we got to wrap up.
Awesome.
You got to know AI though. That just is a requisite now.
Is that a serious question? I'm assuming anyone you would hire into your marketing team, there's some level of testing that you do, how adept they are.
100%.
Okay.
I like to look for people who have a natural curiosity, and if they have been maybe out of a job, they spent the last few months just deep diving into building agents, etc. But I am looking for that.
It's never been a better time to be looking for a job, even though a lot of people think it's so hard, because no one has more than a year head start over you. Everything is so new. So it's actually really good advice. Like if you're looking for a job, learn how to build agents and put that on your resume. Build an agent for your interview. That's how you'll look different and set yourself apart. We are getting the signal that we got to wrap up. Do we have time for questions or no time for questions? We got 1 minute. Does anyone have a question for this amazing crew? Yes, you're close enough, so I can repeat it.
What was the conversation we were having the other day around tokens, and the big, the big, word out there right now on how that's going to play out in the coming years?
Well, it's a good transition from what Shafqat was talking about, because the truth is that some of these use cases are better done by humans. That's what we've all found out, is that OpenAI and Anthropic are coming home to roost, and they got to make money too. And I think probably most marketers in this audience have gotten the email recently from their head of IT saying, hey, by the way, your team spent too much money this month. And it's true. So that's something that we're trying to deal with, I think, as it comes up. It's one of the new realities of some of these technologies that has a cost. And that's why being so intentional about the work you put out is important, and keeping an eye on what really matters so that you don't waste money.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Obviously, the frontier labs and the model companies are encouraging everyone to spend as much as possible. And I think there's this fallacy that token costs have gone down. Token costs have not gone down. Token costs have skyrocketed. The really, really crappy tokens from old models have gone down. But if you want the latest, it's always more expensive. So the entire world in the last 3 months has shifted from like token maxing to optimizing tokens. That's a big part of what we do. Plug. All right. Thank you guys. This was awesome. Hang out. I don't know if you guys all have to run, but we'll kind of mill about here for a few minutes if anyone wants to ask a question. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.